Hi there, my name is Colin Milligan, and this is the project I created for Project 3. I created a mailing list for the Four Roses Distilling Company, and with the mailing list, your requests, the user info are both stored in separate files. Then it takes the data from both of those files and writes it to your final file. So start going through the code. I have my two classes, both user and requests. I have the initialization taking the input from the user, asking what is the name, how old are you, and what is your email. Then if we're looking at the return value definition, it goes if this self-age check is true, and that's checking to verify that the user is 21. It's a distillery, so they have to be. So if casting it to integer, self-age is less than 21, saying, I'm sorry, you must be 21 to join, and then setting the value to false. Then if we go down here, we're going to look at the print data, which is then called in this return val as well. Print thank you, you have entered whatever. Print name, age, email, and then prompting the user that you're adding the data to the list. In the definition right user, you're opening the userinfo.txt file, writing it in, and then formatting it as well, adding a new line at the end and closing the document. In the requests, we have an initialization, and this definition I called array, which is putting the self.data into a list so that the user can continually enter requests that they have until they enter the quit value. So while the loop is true, taking the input and making it lowercase for their requested information. So as soon as they hit the queue, loop is false and it breaks. Otherwise, appending the item, writing it with that increment X, and then incrementing the X. Writing a new line at the end and then closing that. So here we're going to be returning the self data value and then coming to my main function. I'm declaring the global variable user so I can access it from up here. And then user info equals user return value. So if the user info does not equal none, so if it passed the age check, information is the request, requested info is information return value. And here you're entering the name, age, and email, and then writing that into the final file with this formatted. So then when I'm calling it in this, all I'm calling is doing an execution check if name is equal to main, and then running the main function. So looking through the code, we have the folder with the files as well. I run all my programs through PowerShell when I'm implementing data. So if we look at the user info right here, final file and requested info. So then when running the program, it says, what is your name? Just enter a name. How old are you? 25. And then just a test email, test@test.com. And then it says now, adding the data to the list, please enter what you would like to hear from us about, type Q to finish. So we can say, let's just do numbers for easy. 2, 3, 4, 5. And then entering the Q. So then if we look at the requested info, we have the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the bottom because it appends it, does not delete it. So it allows you to add to the list multiple times. So here's our requested information. For the user info, we have here, name, age 25, email. Then in the final file, it compiles it here and says this is their name, age, and email. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So then if you were to run it again and just say, let's go with Jeff, 26, 27, test 2, test.com. And then let's just go back down the list. So 10, 9, 8, 7, enter Q. And then if you go and check these files again, you will see in the user, Jeff H27 email test 2. In the requested info, you'll have the new 10987 added to the bottom. And then the final file, you have it added compile. The reason I wanted to do multiple files like this was for the end user for the mailing list to be able to just read, oh, what do people want to hear from the request info, but also be able to just validate their list from the user info without having to read through the requested info, but having that option there with the final file if they wanted to. So through my program, I used object-oriented practices, object-oriented programming for multiple classes and class definitions. The one thing I really struggled with, and the one reason why I wanted to do this program this way, was taking two files and then writing the data from those two files into another file. I haven't really worked a whole lot with files, and I've never modified files like this into a singular file. So that's the reason I chose all this. And yeah, that's my program. Thank you so much.